Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I'll walk you through Ghana's Prime Building Cost Index and inflation for January 2026. Let's start with what this is about. The Prime Building Cost Index, or PBCI, measures how much it costs to construct buildings over time. It tracks the prices of materials, labor, and plant or equipment used in construction. In simple terms, it tells us whether building is becoming more expensive or more affordable. Now to the headline numbers. In January 2026, the Prime Building Cost Index stood at 132.4, compared with 127.4 in January 2025. This translates into a year-on-year inflation rate of 3.9%. Year-on-year inflation simply compares prices today with prices in the same month the previous year. So this means building costs are 3.9% higher in January 2026 than they were in January 2025. On a month-on-month basis, inflation was 1.1%. Month-on-month compares prices with the previous month. This means prices increased by 1.1% between December 2025 and January 2026. Here is the important part. The 3.9% year-on-year inflation marks the 9th straight month of decline. It is lower than the 4.4% recorded in December 2025 and much lower than the 23.7% recorded in January 2025. What this tells us is that cost pressures in the building sector have eased steadily. Let's break this down further. Labor inflation fell significantly. Year-on-year, it declined to 5.4% in January 2026 from 10.7% in December 2025. On a month-on-month basis, labor prices decreased by 4.1% between December 2025 and January 2026. That suggests some short-term relief in labor costs. Materials tell us a slightly different story. Year-on-year, materials inflation rose to 3.5% in January 2026 from 2.7% in December 2025. Month-on-month, materials increased by 2.3% between December 2025 and January 2026. So while overall inflation is falling, materials showed upward movement in January 2026. For plant and equipment, year-on-year inflation eased to 4.2% in January 2026 from 5.6% in December 2025. Month-on-month, plant prices rose by 2.9% between December 2025 and January 2026. At the subgroup level, surface finishes recorded the highest inflation at 10.8%. On the other hand, cement recorded the lowest inflation at negative 6.6%. In simple terms, the cost of surface finishes increased, while that for cement declined compared to January of the previous year. Subgroups that witnessed year-on-year price increases over the overall inflation of 3.9% include surface finishes, tiles, glazing, door, timber, toilet accessories, metalwork, electrical works, skilled labor, and equipment. Subgroups that recorded year-on-year price declines include fine aggregates, burglar proofing, reinforcements, and cement. So what are the key drivers this month? Skilled labor, material-related items, especially tiles, steel, electrical works, glazing, metalwork, and surface finishes contributed strongly to inflation. At the same time, falling cement prices, reinforcement, and fine aggregates helped offset some of the pressure. What does this mean for you? For government, this is a window to fast-track strategic infrastructure projects, while inflation remains relatively low. At the same time, the labor trends highlight the need to invest in skills training for artisans. For businesses, this may be a good time to secure contracts and lock in prices before any potential rebound. For households, with cement prices declining, and inflation moderating, you may consider phasing your building projects carefully to take advantage of current conditions. Before I end, I want to sincerely thank our market respondents, industry players, and the hard-working staff of the Ghana Statistical Service, whose dedication makes this work possible. At the Ghana Statistical Service, we remain fully committed to providing timely, accurate, relevant, and credible statistics to support evidence-based decision-making and national development. Thank you for your attention.